Welcome. How are you, my big family around the world? Even if this is your first time watching us, we are honored by your presence with us, your admiration, and your subscription to the channel. Airstrikes take out Houthi rebels. The U.S. is sending a clear message to the Houthis in Yemen. Its air force has taken out more rebel fighters from the group, including some top leaders, in a series of ongoing airstrikes that started in mid-March. And it doesn't look like the U.S. plans to stop anytime soon. Washington is going after a group that's caused chaos in the Middle East for far too long. Several senior Houthi members are now dead, including the head of their intelligence. The Houthis are calling them martyrs, but to the U.S., they're high-value targets whose deaths weaken the group for good. On April 13th, Al Jazeera reported the latest round of American airstrikes in Yemen's Sana'a province. It's been a long-time Houthi stronghold, and according to Houthi media, the strikes killed 6 people and injured dozens more. As usual, the group didn't say whether the dead were fighters or civilians. Instead, they chose to paint the U.S. as an invading force slaughtering innocent Yemenis. 2 of the strikes reportedly hit the northern districts of Al-Yatma and Al-Sha'af. So how exactly did the U.S. carry out these attacks? That's still unclear, but it's likely that drones were involved. The U.S. has already used fighter jets and bombers based in the Red Sea to hit Yemen. These aircraft launched from U.S. carriers like the USS Harry S. Truman, which is now joined by the USS Carl Vinson. Each carrier can carry up to 90 aircraft, making them a serious threat to the Houthis' hold on Yemen. Now it seems they might be launching drones too. At least that's what a separate Houthi report claims. According to them, they managed to shoot down an American MQ-9 Reaper drone using a surface-to-air missile during one of the latest attacks. The MQ-9 Reaper, according to the U.S. Air Force, is mainly a surveillance drone, but it packs a punch. It can be used for what the military calls dynamic targeting, and it's equipped with serious firepower. Drones are usually deployed in groups of 4, each with sensors and a ground control station operated by a pilot and sensor operator. Each drone weighs about 4,900 pounds and can take off with up to 10,500 pounds of load, meaning it can carry about 5,600 pounds of fuel and weapons. That's enough range to fly from a carrier in the Red Sea, hit targets in Yemen, and make it back. As for weapons, the MQ-9 is armed with missiles and bombs that make it a deadly force. These include AGM-114 Hellfire missiles, GBU-38 Joint Direct Attack munitions, basically smart bombs, and GBU-12 Paveway-2 bombs. It can also carry laser-guided GBU-54S and the upgraded GBU-49 Paveway-2s, giving it a serious destructive edge. The Houthis did manage to shoot down one of these drones, but since each drone unit includes 4, it's likely the other 3 carried out at least some of the strikes Al Jazeera mentioned. This latest strike is part of a larger U.S. campaign that's been going on daily since March 15th. According to Al Jazeera, dozens of people have already been killed, and several key Houthi military sites have been destroyed. So why is all this happening? It traces back to Houthi actions in the Red Sea. After Israel declared war on Hamas following the October 2023 terror attacks, the Houthis decided to show support for Hamas. Both groups are backed by Iran, so they're loosely allied. The Houthis responded by targeting commercial ships in the Red Sea. By April 2025, the Houthis had carried out around 500 attacks on ships in the Red Sea, Gulf of Aden, and Arabian Sea, damaging more than 100 vessels. This is a big deal, not just for the ships, but for the Red Sea's reputation as a vital shipping route. According to the International Crisis Group, about 12% of global maritime trade passes through the Red Sea via the Suez Canal, and 40% of that is container ships. The Houthis say they're only targeting ships linked to Israel. Even if that's not entirely accurate, there's no doubt their attacks are causing major disruptions. Hundreds of ships avoiding the Red Sea, and that's causing even more problems. Right now, hundreds of ships are steering clear of the Red Sea and rerouting around the southern tip of Africa instead. And that's where another problem kicks in. These longer routes are adding anywhere from 10 to 14 extra days to trips, causing major shipping delays and driving up costs for moving goods around the world. Trade routes between Europe and Asia have been hit especially hard. The detours have even caused a 50% drop in revenue for the Suez Canal. The The United States had already responded to Houthi attacks back in 2024. Working with the United Kingdom, the U.S. carried out 931 targeted airstrikes on Houthi positions between January 2024 and January 2025. But then the airstrikes stopped, not because the Houthis were defeated, but because there was a temporary ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. The Houthis had kept attacking commercial ships throughout 2024, but things calmed down when Israel and Hamas agreed to a truce in January 2025. If that truce had held, the Houthi attacks in the Red Sea might have stopped. But it didn't. In March, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said he'd ordered a strong response against Hamas after the group repeatedly refused to release Israeli hostages. The truce officially collapsed on March 17th, when Israel launched a fresh wave of airstrikes. According to Gaza's Hamas-run health ministry, the strikes never really stopped, and even during the truce, they claimed 140 people were killed. That's when the Houthis jumped back in. As soon as the ceasefire fell apart, the Houthis announced they were resuming attacks in the Red Sea in support of Hamas. But this time, the U.S. didn't hold back. Back in 2024, during President Biden's term, the U.S. mostly targeted Houthi military sites and avoided directly hitting the group's leadership. Under President Donald Trump, though, the approach changed. The new strikes have been way more aggressive. The U.S. is now trying a decapitation strategy, taking out Houthi leaders in hopes the rest of the group falls apart. That brings us to the latest round of airstrikes. Along with previous strikes over the last few weeks, this new wave has reportedly killed several top Houthi commanders, according to the Long War Journal. In addition to senior leaders, the U.S. also hit mid-level military officers and possibly dozens of regular Houthi fighters as part of the campaign. So, who exactly were these commanders? That's often hard to say, since the Houthis rarely admit when their leaders are killed in U.S. strikes. They try to keep the deaths vague, and the U.S. hasn't done much to control the narrative either. Still, there are some clues. The Long War Journal points out that when the Houthis do announce the deaths of important figures, they often include a phrase like, "He was martyred while carrying out his duty defending the homeland." That phrase is a strong hint the person was a commander taken out in a U.S. airstrike. Using that clue, the Long War Journal was able to identify 3 Houthi commanders recently killed by the U.S. The first is Brigadier General Hamdan Naji Saleh al-Jabali. Not much is known about him, but after his death, Houthi leader Mehdi al-Mashat sent a condolence message to his family, which suggests he was a pretty high-ranking and trusted member of the group. Another official message also used that telltale phrase about dying in the line of duty. We do know Jabali's funeral was held on March 26th, and it was attended by high-profile Houthi officials, like the group's acting governor, the head of mobilization efforts, and a deputy minister in the Houthi-controlled Yemeni government. Others praised his bravery and heroism on the battlefield. It's almost certain he died in a U.S. airstrike, and he's not the only one. While Jabali's exact role in the group remains unclear, that's not the case for Colonel Abdul Nasser al-Kamali. He was head of Houthi intelligence and was killed in an airstrike on April 8th in Sana'a. According to the Long War Journal, under Kamali's leadership, the Houthis' U.S. airstrikes hit Houthi intelligence hard, and the fallout is bigger than expected. Kamali was able to pull off a number of successful security and intelligence operations. That suggests he was probably a key player in the Houthis' Red Sea campaign. The intel he gathered likely helped the group track ship movements and pick their targets in the Red Sea. But Kamali did more than just gather info. According to the Long War Journal, he also played a major role in uniting different factions within the Houthi movement, making the group more organized and powerful. On top of that, he helped plan and direct their ground operations, including attacks on the Saudi-led coalition and other forces trying to take the Houthis down in Yemen. Kamali was killed on a day when the U.S. also destroyed a Houthi weapons depot, an ammunition warehouse, and hit 5 other unspecified targets. What's interesting is that his death had a bigger impact on the group's intelligence wing than expected. The Times of Israel reported that after Kamali was killed, the Houthis arrested their deputy intelligence chief, a role Kamali himself had once held. Why? The Houthis believed that the deputy may have leaked coordinates of several high-level locations to the U.S., possibly including the one where Kamali was killed. So in a way, Kamali's death hit them twice. They lost their intelligence chief, and they locked up the guy who was next in line. Like Jabali's, Kamali's funeral was attended by big names, Houthi mobilization chief, high-ranking deputies, and top officials from Yemen's political offices. That shows the kind of influence he had. Even though less is known about Jabali, the fact that both their funerals were attended by the same senior leadership suggests they were equally important to the Houthis' operations. Just 2 days after Kamali's death, news broke of another Houthi figure killed in a U.S. airstrike, Captain Malik Abdullah Mohammed al-Lassani. Like Jabali, there's not much public info about Lassani, but he was referred to as a martyr at his funeral and praised for fulfilling his national duty defending the homeland and supporting Gaza, classic language used for fallen Houthi fighters. The cause of death wasn't officially announced, but it's pretty clear. If he's being called a martyr and the Houthis are only fighting the US right now, who are launching airstrikes, then he likely died in one. So far, we know for sure about 3 senior Houthi commanders killed in these strikes. But according to the Long War Journal, there are lots of reports that US airstrikes have killed many more Houthi members, from top commanders down to foot soldiers. Many of these claims seem credible, the journal says, but it's hard to confirm without solid evidence or reliable sources. The Houthis have tried to cover up the scale of the damage, but the Long War Journal highlights a list posted on X, formerly Twitter, by a Yemeni analyst named Mohammed al-Basha, who's said to have insider contacts within the group. According to him, the US airstrikes have been far more damaging than the Houthis want to admit. While the Houthis claim dozens were killed, al-Basha estimates the number is closer to 100, just from military ranks alone as of April 6th. His data comes from funeral announcements across Houthi-controlled areas. The Long War Journal adds that many of the deaths were later confirmed by pro-Houthi sources. And then there are the rumors. For example, there are reports that a US airstrike killed Brigade Commander Shamsan Hussein al-Fayek, another key Houthi military figure. A post on X supports this claim, but there hasn't been any confirmation from either the US or the Houthis, so al-Fayek may still be alive and in command. All this adds to the confusion. So what do we know for sure? The US is carrying out daily airstrikes. The Houthis are not admitting to any high-level casualties. But between funeral announcements and their use of the word martyr, more is being revealed than they'd like. At least 3 senior figures are confirmed dead. The total number could be up to 100 or more. And there are probably even more who were killed that we just don't know about yet. Bottom line, the US campaign is hitting the Houthis hard, especially at the leadership level. The US airstrikes are making an impact. The Houthis haven't been fully taken out, but the leadership's taken a few heavy blows, and now they're barely hanging on. That leads to the big question, what's next? Well, the Houthis' actions in the Red Sea are closely tied to 2 things, Israel's war against Hamas in Gaza and Iran's regional agenda. The Houthis have made it clear from the start they won't stop attacking in the Red Sea as long as the war in Gaza continues, and that means US airstrikes aren't stopping either. As US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said on March 16th, the moment the Houthis say, "We'll stop firing at your ships and stop shooting down your drones," this campaign will end. Until then, it will be relentless. So far, Hegseth has kept his word. Since March 15th, there hasn't been a single day without an American strike in Yemen. These strikes are clearly messing with the Houthis' operations in the Red Sea, but the group hasn't backed down. In fact, their messaging seems to say, "We won't stop unless the US stops first." According to Dropsite, a member of the Houthis' political wing responded to Hegseth's warning on April 10th. The spokesperson said, "We don't consider ourselves at war with the American people. If the US stops targeting Yemen, we'll stop our military operations against them." Notice they didn't mention stopping attacks on commercial ships in the Red Sea. That means the US airstrikes will keep coming, and we're stuck in a loop. One hits, the other responds. So how do you break the cycle? That's where Iran might come in. Iran supports the Houthis so closely that they're basically a proxy force. But there's a catch. The US airstrikes are putting serious pressure on Tehran, and according to one anonymous Iranian official, that pressure may be working. He told The Telegraph on April 3rd, "Thank you very much for watching the video. Tell us in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell. At X News, we are committed to providing you with realistic and fair news. See you soon."